fight IQ?
I don't think there's nobody in the game that has the fight IQ that I have.
Off the charts.
His fucking IQ.
The highest fight IQ maybe ever.
This guy hits hard. He's tough. He's this, he's that. And this guy has a dream. But my fight IQ will win this fight.
Welcome to another episode of the Fight IQ podcast. Today we are covering the UFC 313 card in its entirety and giving you our picks. Starting at the top of the card, we have Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. The big one that we've all been waiting for.
Heck yeah, man. This is a fight that's been, talked about for a long time. Everybody has always accused Alex Pereira of ducking Magomed Ankalaev when I felt like, Magomed just hadn't had the quality of wins to deserve a title shot just yet. Had a lot of draws, had a lot of really boring fights, so I was always, kind of the mindset that Magomed needed to do a little bit more to earn the title shot, but his style is one that could present problems for Poatan. So my pick is going to be Alex Pereira on this one. I just think that he's had enough time to work on his takedown defense and, counter grappling to be able to shut down Magomed. Magomed's not really known for, being a takedown merchant. He's primarily like a pretty low volume striker and very methodical with his striking. So I feel like Magomed is going to, at one point he's probably going to start to attempt takedowns, and we're all going to be pretty surprised with how well Alex Pereira deals with them. I feel like this is going to be like one of those, oh shit, now he can defend takedown moments. It's very similar to when Francis Ngannou fought Stipe the second time, and he was just able to just negate all sorts of grappling. I feel like that's what we're going to see in this situation. I just can't see how Magomed can win this one since he's, has a loss to Paul Craig. Anybody that loses to Paul Craig, I just feel like is going to be a fucking bum, But he has some good wins. The win over Rakic was a solid one. But I just feel like Pereira is just a whole new ball game when it comes to, the caliber of opponents he's had recently. So I'm going to go with Alex Pereira.
Love it. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm also going to go with Alex Pereira on this one. I think this is a good opportunity to see somebody that I truly think at this point is the number one contender, right? I think Ankalaev at this point has done enough. He's kind of confirmed at that point. He's fought, all the contenders that have kind of been maybe it's going to be him, maybe it's him. He's done it. I think it's a great opportunity for both of them to kind of really see who the best in this division is at this point. I think Alex can get it done here. It's going to be interesting to see if he tries his usual style of kind of pressuring the way that he does, especially once he kind of finds the rhythm. Round 4 Khalil, right, where he just really kind of starts to find that range. He starts to understand how you're going to strike, how you're going to respond. And I think that's really where that takedown defense is probably going to become really important, is if he can also time those takedown defenses where Ankalaev, can't strike with him, can't do this, then what do? That's where that distance is going to really kind of matter. That being said, Ankalaev's not known for his grappling, but it's not bad. He's definitely clearly more likely to be the one to wrestle here. And if he does, maybe he does it. I hope not. But I think if it's going to happen, I don't see Alex getting knocked out. I don't see it being on the feet.
Yeah, the interesting stats point to, just takedown accuracy. Magomed has a 31% takedown accuracy percentage, man. That's not good.
That's not good.
That's not good. And he never attempts submissions either. He mostly just goes for control time. So I feel like even if Magomed is able to implement the grappling, it's going to be a situation where Alex Pereira does a significant amount of damage on the feet and then gets taken down, and then we're scoring control time versus damage. And then it's just a flip of the coin what the judges decide to value at that particular time. But, yeah, man, I feel like Poatan is just going to have a lot of answers for Magomed. If the fight takes place in open stance, it could get interesting because one of the big holes in Magomed's game is his leg kick defense. He gets leg kicked a lot, and Poatan has a very good lead calf kick. And so I feel like if the fight takes place in open stance, it's going to take away some of Alex's best low kicks and it's just gonna open up the doors for Magomed to have a little bit of success defending them. But yeah, man. That being said, I feel like this is gonna be a really fun fight. It's one that's been really building up for a while. You can tell that they don't like each other, which is awesome. But yeah, we'll move on to the next one. We got Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev 2. Short notice replacement. What do you think about this one, Andrew?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because there was a lot of talk after Dan Hooker got hurt. There was a ton of buzz of, are they going to replace him? Are they just going to maybe reschedule the fight? And unfortunately, I think in my case, I would have rather see the Dan Hooker fight, so I kind of wish they would have rescheduled it. That being said, anytime we get to watch a Justin Gaethje fight, it's always a good time. Man, I've got Justin on this one. I really like Justin Gaethje. I like how he's fought. I like how he's evolved as a fighter over the course of his career. I think he's gotten a lot smarter. He's really kind of found those tools that work for him really well and kind of just honed those into probably the best version of Justin Gaethje that we've ever seen. I mean, his fight against Max Holloway was something special. And obviously, Max had got to be one of the nastiest knockouts of all time. I don't know. Did you see the footage recently that they posted of Gaethje
where they had to roll him over so he didn't choke?
Holy shit, man! That was so
a bad KO.
That's my only hesitation. Is that was his last fight out. Is it enough time to recover from that? It's the first time that I think we've really seen Gaethje in that kind of damage, but he's always taken a lot of damage in every fight. That's just kind of his whole thing. I hope it doesn't start to catch up with him. And Fiziev's got really good Muay Thai. He's one of those guys that's a very good kickboxer. Their first fight was really fun.
Real close.
Yeah, real close fight. Really good fight. Is it a rematch that I want to see right now? No, not necessarily. I've got Justin Gaethje on this one. I hope that, the Max Holloway was not something that led to long-term damage here, and we still get to see Justin kind of be at his prime. Because I really think he's maybe only got a couple more. Yeah,
and I think there was alluding to this possibly even being one of his last fights. He's been saying that for a while, but he's one of those people that always is conscious about the damage he takes in fights, and when you're starting to get knocked out, this could be the last one if it's a bad loss for him. That being said, I think that Justin Gaethje is going to be able to edge out another decision. And I only say that because Fiziev is coming off a really bad injury. It's that one that happened during the Mateus Gamrot fight where he was beating the shit out of Mateus Gamrot and then his knee just kind of exploded. So I think that, it's going to be another really fun fight. I'm going to be very interested to see how Fiziev comes back from that injury in a long layoff. Whenever you have knee injuries and you're getting back in there, it can always be a completely different fighter, especially when you're somebody that's real bouncy and real flowy. Now, you really got to put trust that the knee is healed up well to be able to move around like that. But with Gaethje, just coming off that KO loss, it could make the fight just that much closer. Yeah, so I think ultimately I'm going to just go with Justin Gaethje on this one just for the vibes, and I'm really going to put a lot of stock in the fact that Gaethje's been competing a lot over the last few years, and Fiziev has been recovering from an injury. So I'm going to account for the ring rust and go with Justin Gaethje here. But Fiziev, he could definitely take this one. He has some really good kicks. He has some of the best kicks at lightweight. Really, really fast switch kick. He's really, really fun to watch when it comes to striking. Head movement is incredible. He could have made all the reads, and he's very cerebral with his striking, which is very high level of him. But if he's able to keep the reads that he made from Justin Gaethje in the first fight and just go straight into the round one, not having to make as much reads as he did in the first fight because he's a slow starter, then I could really see him starting to have a lot of success against Justin Gaethje. But I think the ring rust is going to be the big factor here. All right. So we'll move on to the next fight here. We got the featured fight of Jalin Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Yeah, there we go.
This is a fun one. It's a return for Jalin Turner. His last fight out was a pretty tough one. It was against Moicano, so he had that whole situation of really, I guess, just kind of getting stuck on the idea of wanting a walk-off KO, right? hurt Moicano really badly. Jalin thought he, got the finish there. Moicano, I guess, recovered enough for the ref to think that he was fine, and then ultimately ended up getting submitted, I believe, or KO'd. That's a tough fight to come back from, right? Just from the standpoint of, like, I think it's kind of been Jalin Turner's style this whole time. He's kind of always wanted that. So then when he didn't get it and ended up losing the fight, how much does that affect the ego? Hopefully not too much. I'd like to see him come back on this one. He's fought better people than Ignacio has. Ignacio's, also doing pretty good. For me, I think Jalin Turner's going to be able to come back for this one, and I think he's going to make sure that if he does get a knockdown, that there's going to be follow-up this time. So I think he's going to be a little bit more aware of his game and maybe a little bit more focused on ensuring that he's kind of really in it. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, I think I've got to go with Jalin Turner on this one.
Yeah, man. I feel like Jalin Turner is one of those very rare fighters that fights very strategically to how his body's built, Yeah. Like, you'll have, like, these really long, lengthy fighters, and they don't use their reach as well. They don't use the weapons that would take the most advantage of how long of reach they have. But Jalin Turner has always been the type to use the long weapons from the right range and you have really high fight IQ when it comes to the striking, using same-side head kicks, using lots of straight punches. When they're in close, he uses elbows, and he's a very dangerous striker. So, like, elbows and knees. When you're that tall, you don't have to really lift up your knee that high to hit somebody that's, 5'8", 5'9", that's also in your weight class. He's very, very big for the division. So he always uses his length and reach very, very well. His height he uses very well. But the thing is there's always a point in Jalin Turner fights where his skill level just falls off a cliff. Like the first round, maybe the first 2 rounds, he's dominating the fight using, like, some very cool striking. Everything's going perfect for him, and then all of a sudden, like, within, like, one moment, now everything's just a disaster. And it happens pretty often in Jalin Turner fights, but with the caliber of opponent he's fighting, I think it's important he's always fighting, like, really experienced fighters, people that have been around the game for a while, in the top 15 for a while, so they're just using that experience to be able to, like, weather the storm and then find their moment. I think Jalin Turner's going to come into this fight hungry, learning from his past mistakes, and knowing that he can compete with the best of them, and he's going to get a pretty solid win over Bahamondes.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, Bahamondes has been on kind of a spree. He's had a pretty nice win streak at this point. He's found a lot of success in the UFC, but he's still kind of working his way up, and I think just the experience of fights that they've both had in the UFC so far, I think Jalin has seen a lot more, and that may make the difference for this one.
Yeah, man, for sure. I really think he's super talented.
I do as well.
I think, he's one of these people that, maybe because he's still pretty young too, maybe in a couple of years, with all of the experience he has, he's really going to be a problem. If he's able to, like, really just put it all together, get a streak going. Because he's in there in all of these fights. He almost KO'd Moicano. And, like, if he would have followed up, it would have been a finish. He's been in there with Dan Hooker and almost KO'd Dan Hooker with head kicks and stuff, So he can strike there with the best of them. His grappling has always been a problem. But I think, if Jalin Turner really puts it all together, man, he could be a problem in the lightweight division,
Definitely.
So we'll move on to the women's strawweight bout. We got Amanda Lemos versus Yasmin Lucindo. What you got on this one?
Women's ranked strawweight bout. So, Amanda Lemos being somebody that recently fought for the title, unfortunately lost to Weili Zhang, as many do. But this is an opportunity, I think, for Lucindo to potentially continue her rise. She's been looking really good in the UFC so far. I've actually got her winning this fight. I think Amanda Lemos has had better experience. She's had more fights with higher ranked folks and obviously had that title opportunity. But I think at this point, Yasmin Lucindo is just kind of a little bit hungrier on her way up, I think, is the younger prospect here, and I think is kind of trying to go the opposite direction, right? Where she's really trying to make that rise for her title shot. Lemos is maybe on her way back down. I think that's going to be a bigger difference here. I was looking back at Lucindo's fights. She's had a bunch of really nice ones recently. She's had 8 wins by knockout at this point, so that's pretty substantial for somebody in the strawweight division too. I think she's just going to be the younger, stronger fighter here, and I think that's going to make the difference.
I'm not going to spend too much time on this one.
Yeah.
I do think that Amanda Lemos is going to be able to get this one done. I think she's fought the better competition, and she's been in there with, you know, the better fighters and has better wins. Yasmin is a really good prospect, but right now I'm just going to go with the veteran, Amanda Lemos. And, I just feel like she's fought better competition. She could get KO'd by Yasmin Lucindo. She does have some heavy hands, but, I'm not going to spend too much time on that one. Because the next fight we got going on is the one I'm pretty stoked for, man. This is another fighting nerd. We got Mauricio Rufy versus King Green. I'm so stoked for this one, man. What do you got on this?
You know, this is a really fun one. I think it kind of continues to solidify my opinion that King Green is a springboard for people to make their way into the rankings. Obviously, we saw that with Patty, where it was kind of just one of those setup opportunities where if Patty could make it happen, we knew for sure that he was going to be in talks of being in the ranks.
I mean, Islam got a title shot off beating Bobby Green. So.
Right? And I feel like we've said this on the podcast before. I'm sure, you know, it's on record at this point where I think King Green just springboards people. Mm-hmm. And I think Rufy is absolutely ready to get springboarded, for sure. You know, his last performance out was against an opponent that was significantly bigger, and he did great. He did really good. His striking has been incredible. He's stood up to whatever we thought he was. It seems like so far at this point he is. And you know, at this point, I think King Green is, I don't know. We're never going to see him fight for a title. I don't think we're ever going to see him even approach the top 10 again at this point. So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I think Rufy's going to just be the better fighter here. I think it's hard to argue this one.
Yeah, man. Especially if we're talking styles, Mauricio Rufy is just, it's not somebody you want to box with. His reflexes are just so on point. And when it comes down to the style, a lot of people really will nitpick that he has his hands down all the time. But it's really just to set up his counters and to really like bait what he wants you to target, which is his head. He's very hard to hit. And I feel like if you don't have a significant size advantage of over Rufy like Jan Top did, then you're not going to be able to really fuck him up too bad with the boxing. You're going to need to implement a lot of kicks, take away his base by like doing low kicks and stuff like that. And I don't think King Green has a game like a low kick game at all.
No.
In order to, you know, slow somebody like Rufy down, you need to attack his legs. And I just don't feel like Bobby Green is going to all of a sudden turn into some Muay Thai specialist that's going to be able to take out his lead leg. So he can't, you know, have a strong base for those counters. But, yeah man, I do see, you know, King Green possibly having some success with himself having his hands down because those punches come from awkward angles. But a lot of his best punches are going to be straight punches, punching in combination, and all of these things. And those are just things that Mauricio Rufy has like 1,000 counters for. And he's always ready to throw them. I'm expecting to see him slipping punches, throwing spinning elbows, you know, intercepting counters. All of these things are going to be on the table for Mauricio Rufy to kind of put on a showcase performance. Yeah, dude, I feel like this is going to be like a highlight reel, and then we're going to start getting talks about who's Rufy going to fight next. That's going to be in the top 15, you know? So,
this is definitely one of those fights where, you know, we saw it with Patty in the way that King Green is explosive, right? He's very forward momentum heavy. He kind of likes to be a little bit more of the athletic guy in a lot of these cases where he's throwing a lot more shots. He's kind of throwing his weight into things. But a lot of times being that explosive and being that athletic can get you into trouble, right? Which we saw with Patty. He kind of fell into that triangle almost. It was a weird
I think he kicked his leg out. He kicked his leg out, and then like he lost balance, and then tried to shoot to kind of recover position, and then just like he didn't want to shoot the takedown. I just remember seeing this in an interview because people were talking shit about it. Or like, why are you going to shoot on Patty? And then he brought up, he's like, he kicked out my leg, and as I was falling, the double leg was there. And that's it. If he had no leg, he couldn't really finish driving the takedown either. So he was just kind of in a fucked position. That Patty put him in.
So it's one of those things where it was a weird kind of, you know, fluky thing where he just kind of went with it. And, you know, unfortunately, when you have somebody like Rufy who's so kind of specialized in countering, you can't just go with things. That's going to end up getting you put to sleep, and I think that's what's going to happen here, probably first or second round.
Yeah. What's interesting about this style matchup, too, is that these are two pressure-heavy counter strikers. Like, Bobby Green likes to be pushing the pace, and, like, what he likes to do is, like, this weird stutter step where he has his hands down, and he's, like, marching towards you, like, just feinting with his shoulders a lot, and then that's when the punches start coming. And then Ruffy is very similar to, like, Conor McGregor, where he's going to be standing in your grill, putting his hands on you, waiting for you to do something, and then the counter's going to be right there. So I really wonder who's going to be able to implement, you know, the forward pressure more, who's going to be on the back foot. You know, all of these things is going to be real interesting to see how the fight takes place. But, man, ultimately I'm going Mauricio Ruffy, highlight reel KO, and hopefully, you know, we get some action with him in the top 15 after that. All right, so we're going to move on to the prelims now. We got Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev. Known steroid cheat, Rizvan Kuniev somehow gets a top 5 heavyweight bout for his fucking debut. Insane. Off of steroid suspension as well, I believe.
Yes.
What do you think, dude?
You know, man, I got to go with Kuniev for this one, man.
Whoa.
Yep, I'm doing it. I'm
Okay.
absolutely going. I'm going with Rizvan for this one. I think I was the only one to make the Hamdi pick as well. So if you know anything about my record, those pre-steroided guys, I'm a huge fan of. You know, man, I was looking at this. The UFC has kind of done Kuniev a little dirty in his record. They have it listed as 2-0 on his record, but if you go into Tapology, which breaks down his like professional record, he's actually 13-2. So he's been fighting for a while. He was in the PFL for a while. That was the fight that got turned over. He obviously won on the Contender Series with a round 1 knockout. He's had a lot of success with his stand-up. He seems to be a pretty good striker. He seems to be pretty confident in his strikes. He's got some guillotine chokes. He was the champ over at Eagle FC because they love to give their own boys the chance. You know, I like it. I like the potential here. I think he gets it done. I'm kind of tired of seeing Curtis Blades at this point, man.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
I'm going to go Curtis Blades on this one. I'm a big fan of Curtis Blades. I know a lot of people might think he's a boring takedown merchant, man, but I've always seen him as somebody that really put the effort as a grappler to have a very cool striking style. You know, a lot of his success at heavyweight did come from, you know, his boxing and all that stuff. There are so many fights where he didn't use his wrestling, and he's gotten like really awesome finishes. Really, one of the few heavyweights that has solid in and out movement with his strikes. You know, he trains with like Corey Sandhagen and all those guys down at high altitude, so it makes sense that he has a very similar striking style. And then on top of all of that, he has an amazing wrestling base too. He has just so many methods to victory. That his Achilles heel has always been just insane, heavy-handed power punchers. I'm talking fucking Pavlovich. I'm talking Derek Lewis. I'm talking Francis Ngannou. The only way like Curtis Blades really loses fights is to like insane heavy, like people that are known for how much power they can generate. They just throw Curtis Blades at him, and the poor guy gets fucking flatline KO'd. But everybody else he seems to stop, and we got to be thankful for people like Curtis Blades that are always willing to just take whatever fight they give him, because he's number 5. He could totally sit on that ranking and, you know, campaign for title shots, but he's always fighting the up and comers. He's always staying busy, and it really sucks that he's never really gotten to the title, you know, because he's put together some solid wins. But I think Curtis Blades is super skilled, and I think he's gonna. I don't know if he's going to... Yeah, I think he's going to finish Kuniev. I think it's going to be a late finish.
Nice. I like that. I like that you're committed on that.
Yeah, Blades is always disciplined. He comes in shape, ready to go. He's fought 5 rounds before. I think he's going to be able to outpace Kuniev, and then maybe like a late round 2, round 3 TKO.
Nice. Mm-hmm. You know, my only thing here, and part of why I went with the decision, is it seems like recently the UFC has been favoring heavyweights from the Contender Series. We've had a couple now that have come in, had really big, as far as, you know, for a debut fight, come in and kind of get a pretty big opportunity, and usually they seem to be able to take advantage. We saw it this past weekend with Mario Pinto and Austin Lane. Obviously, Curtis Blades is a significantly better fighter than Austin Lane is, but it's another one of those situations where Mario Pinto got a pretty heavy-handed knockout on the Contender Series, and they gave him somebody that people knew. Austin Lane had a fight not that long ago, won, kind of gave him a little bit more hype, and all of a sudden just got absolutely flatlined.
Yeah, dude.
And I could see it happening again here. It feels like the UFC's had that kind of pattern recently of pulling these really heavy-handed heavyweights from the Contender Series. So I think we might see it again.
Yeah. And another thing I want to mention, too, is Kuniev is a fucking big boy, dude. Like, this dude is
Big
massive. 6'4", he cuts weight to make heavyweight. He looks like taking him down would be a fucking problem.
Yeah.
But Curtis Blades just has a lot of really good technique. I feel like he's going to be able to do that. And the cardio is probably not going to be there. So, hopefully he doesn't get flatline KO'd. I hope he doesn't.
That's fair.
But we'll move on from the heavyweight bout to flyweight. We got Joshua Van versus Ray Saruya. Yeah, dude. The return of Joshua Van, staying active, we love to see it. He's fighting every fucking 3 days, I feel like. And the second he finishes a fight, he just moves on to the next one. Awesome to see.
Yeah, Joshua Van's definitely a company man for sure. He's one of those guys that, the next contract they put in front of him, he's already signed. Like, he's just kind of down. He's had a lot of momentum, and his style really kind of reflects that. He seems to feel comfortable fighting. It seems like he's doing it often enough to where he's never getting that, like, little bit of nerve, little bit of rust that kind of happens in between if you take 6-8 months off. Super fun to watch, man. His last couple fights have been great. Obviously, his win against Cody Durden was definitely an upset. But it really showed that this guy is somebody in the flyweight division to be contended with. He reminds me a lot of other fighters in the division where he's got that really kind of cool boxing heavy style that seems to be really successful here. Man, I've got the pick for Joshua Van on this one for sure. Only because I'm tired of having my heart broken by thinking we're going to have another cool Japanese fighter, man. As much as I'd love to say that Ray does it, he's 10-0. He's got, I think, 4 submissions and 4 knockouts. So definitely somebody that's here to look for the finish. And is 1-0 in the UFC, so he's had the success already. But I got to go Joshua Van. I think the activity is just really important here, and he seems to be one of the best at it.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Joshua Van as well.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback off what you said, the boxing skill set of Joshua Van is awesome. I really like to see when somebody is very active as well, but his main style is just being in the pocket, exchanging, and just kill or be killed. But he has a lot of really good defensive qualities while he's in the pocket too, because he's just so comfortable there, And he's not the biggest, flyweight. He doesn't have a big reach, so usually when he gets in on people, he has to really be close to them, and that's why he gets finished. Is usually when he's fighting these taller people that are able to catch him either on the way out or as he's coming in. I feel like Saruya is going to have opportunities with being heavy-handed to intercept Joshua Van when he's coming in. But lately, Joshua Van's just been on fire, man. And even in the fights where he's been KO'd, I feel like he was doing so well in those fights. And I really rate his boxing skill set highly. He's just in there always getting after it. So we'll move on to the next fight at middleweight. We got Bruno Ferreira versus Armen Petrosyan. What you got on this one, brother?
Man, I'm a fan of second chances. So my immediate pick for this one was Bruno.
Oh, okay.
He had that really weird fight last time out against Magomedov where he just kind of froze against the cage.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm remembering correctly, it was kind of just a very weird showing for him. He got submitted in the third on that one. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. That was his first loss so far in the UFC, and he's looked pretty good otherwise. Armen Petrosyan recently suffered that pretty nasty knockout to Shara. Do I think that that's going to be a major factor in this fight? No, not necessarily, but it means that Armen Petrosyan has kind of seen defeat recently. Mm-hmm. I mean, they both have in this case. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with Bruno. I think the opportunity for ground game is a little bit more existent for him.
Yep.
Petrosyan, obviously being somebody that wants to keep this fight standing, is clearly a kickboxer and has always kind of been a kickboxer in his career. You know, if Bruno's smart, he takes him down and we get a submission out of him.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking was going to happen. I feel like the path to victory right now is for Bruno is going to be to take down Petrosyan. That's going to be I feel like the easiest way for him to win, and that's how I think it's going to happen. It's either going to be a decision with most of the fight taking place grappling and Petrosyan trying to get up and, eating little pitter-patter punches, or, just out-grappling him into a submission. I feel like Petrosyan's Achilles heel has always been grappling. He got submitted by Rodolfo Vieira, and when he's on his back, you can tell he's not the most comfortable. But he is a pretty good striker, and he was in there really getting after it with Shower Bullet. But, that double back fist, it caught him off guard. He blocked the first one, and the second one nobody saw coming. So he was doing well in that fight, but I think that Bruno, with the threat of the takedown, is going to be able to make him second-guess enough to get the KO or take him down and get a submission.
Yeah, I mean, and especially when you're talking about somebody that's got a really low kick or even body kick heavy game plan, if you're going against somebody where you're worried about the takedown, it's going to deter you from wanting to throw those strikes just on the off chance that they catch it. Petrosyan's one of those guys that's got really good kicks. He likes to use them. I wonder if it's going to be a deterrent for him to use them, or if maybe it's going to be something that Bruno is going to have to be concerned about dealing with. I could see it going either way, and I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can make submission or takedown attempts off of those kicks.
Yeah, man. I feel like that's going to be it could either be a really fun fight, one that we're all talking about, that was a sleeper, or that could be like one of the most boring decisions on the card. But speaking of boring decisions, we got Alex Morono versus Carlos Leal. I fucking hate that Morono's still on the roster.
Yep.
And I hope he gets cut after a loss on this one. But, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, man, I'm going for that Alex Morono loss here, so I'm going with Carlos Leal. Leal recently had a loss to Fakhretdinov, went to a 3-round decision with him, so... Not a bad loss. Not necessarily... No, not a bad loss. I can't say that I'm super hyped on Carlos Leal anyway. Mm-hmm. This is a fine fight. It's kind of low on the card, so I'm not really all that worried about it. I just hate seeing Morono on a card. Mm-hmm. So for that alone, I'm going to go with Carlos Leal. I think Morono's probably going to be able to out-grapple him if it ends up on the ground. Hopefully we just get a quick finish here and we call it a day.
Yeah, I hope we get a vicious highlight reel KO from Carlos Leal. It'd be sick to just see a flatline KO W for Carlos. That's what I'm going for on this one. I won't spend too much time on this fight. I cannot tell you a fun Alex Morono fight I've ever seen.
No.
It's just, he's one of those people that just drags all the energy out of a card for me. So won't spend too much time on that one. Or either of these last two. We got Myron Santos versus Francis Marshall. I'll just go with the boy Francis, I guess. We'll go with the USA off the vibes. I don't know too much about either of these fighters, but I'm just going to go with USA on this one.
That's what I'm doing as well. I'm going with Francis Marshall on this one. Santos is 15-1, so clearly he's had a pretty good streak up to this point. I can't say that I know a ton about either of these guys, but I think I'm going to go with Francis. Just on the vibes, just for that USA.
Yeah, for sure. And then the final fight on the early prelims that we're going to go over today is going to be the middleweight fight between Ozzy Diaz and Jordan Santos. I'm going to go Ozzy Diaz on this one. I was seeing some pretty slick boxing in his last fight. I know he did lose to Ming Yang, and Ming Yang is a great prospect, but I just remember in that fight I was seeing a lot of cool things that Diaz was doing, and he ultimately got caught. So I haven't seen Jordan Santos fight too much. I want to say this is his debut off the Contender Series possibly, but I'm going to go with Ozzy Diaz. Again, off the vibes, and he looks like he could be Fluffy Hernandez's older brother. So, that's going to be my headcanon. And, dude, what do you got?
Yeah, I think I got I got to go the same with you on this one. I'm also going Ozzy Diaz. He's had the experience, and maybe in a debut fight, that's the edge that matters here.
Mm-hmm. Slick boxing.
But shit, man. I could see this going either way. I'll go Ozzy Diaz. Keep it on the American side for these early prelims.
Heck yeah. Well, that was our picks for UFC 313. Everyone remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you guys for watching. Peace.
Peace.